Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie. I am the senior editor here, and today I am thrilled to bring you a discussion about CCaaS migrations and whether or not the cloud really is the best place for your contact center to reside. And joining me for that conversation are two very special guests. Yesterday, I am delighted to be joined by Michael McCloskey, the CEO of Brightpattern, and Nicolas de Kouchkovsky, the principal analyst at CarCube Consulting. Thanks both very much for joining me, and let's get right on into the discussion. And let's maybe kick off by discussing what's really driving large contact center vendors to move their solutions from on-premise to cloud-based. And this is a trend that we've seen kind of developing over the past kind of 15 years almost. And I don't know, Michael, if you could kind of offer some commentary on that trend.
Sure, Charlie. Yeah, I think there's a couple of important reasons. The first is probably the macro environment where you're seeing a lot of enterprises see the benefit of cloud. Maybe it's less IT costs, less capital expenditure, greater security, maybe more access to, more modern technologies and things of that nature. And so I think that, the big macro is really to go towards the money, as Nicolas would say. The second thing I think that we're seeing is that a lot of these vendors, let's call them the big three, originally had premise solutions. And what they did is they actually took those solutions and kind of hosted them, so to speak. So they weren't really cloud solutions. And it's really expensive to support multiple platforms in that. So if you look at the big three, all of them had, prem solutions, then they built cloud, and now they're trying to consolidate those offerings. And so it's, as I said, very, very expensive to support multiple development efforts. And I think we're seeing a lot of people just go one direction because that's the most efficient and where the growth in the market is.
Yeah, to build on that, I would echo what Mike just said. Vendors are simply following the money, and the market got to a point where they all are compelled to put all they would behind one product. Yeah. I would also mention that many of the cloud projects were actually started from a broader CX initiative at the company level. And in many cases, the first step was to move the CRM in the cloud. So the contact center coming after that was logically moved to the cloud to be completely integrated with CRM. And the final thing I would say is AI. With AI, and if you want to inject it in your contact center platform, you want to embed it, it's much easier to do it in the cloud. So all those reasons are kind of converging towards this movement.
Absolutely, yeah. I think there was lots of really great points there. And I think even if we look kind of beyond the CCaaS space, you look into kind of CRM and SAP maybe is a great example of how it's sort of almost now pushing its customers into the cloud. We're starting to see that a bit in the contact center market as well, of on-premise providers doing more kind of to force their customers' hands and make that move for them. But there are also many reasons why a contact center may want to stay on-premise and avoid making that move to the cloud. Michael, again, I'll start with you on this. What sorts of reasons are you seeing out there in the market?
Well, we've seen some of the major vendors kind of, basically get away from, offering their on-prem solutions, but there's still a need in a lot of jurisdictions, for instance. So, in a lot of geographies for regulatory environments, you're not allowed to go to cloud. So, for instance, some of the Korean banks, we've got a very, very large customer in Korea that's a credit card company, and that particular company cannot go cloud. So they had to go. We went private cloud with them in this case. We've got another, big BPO supplier in Saudi Arabia where they just support public sector and financial services. Again, they're not allowed to go to cloud in that country for regulatory reasons. So I think that's some of the major reasons why we see it. I think the other thing is that some people just want to have greater control over their environment. So there could be security reasons. There could be the number of integrations they're doing, and the fact that they have something that's very, very special, in their offering that they want to control. So I think those are the major things that we're seeing, so far why people want to stay kind of on-prem.
Yeah, to continue build on that, I think a lot of enterprises are compelled to sweat the assets they have. So it's worth mentioning. Data consideration is big, and there's really two aspects of it. There is data sovereignty, which is very important, and we tend to forget about it in the US, outside of the US, where this is a big concern. There can be also some in specific industries because of a regulation. But there's also the issue surrounding the governance of data. Some enterprises don't know exactly what data they want to share or not, and at this stage, they say if you start to share it, it's gone. So they prefer to maintain everything in the premises. The last point, which I want to comment, is lately I've seen a lot of enterprises scrutinizing their tech expenses, and it has led to a movement where we've seen some repatriation of the workloads from public cloud to the private cloud. So this morning, actually read a Barclays CIO survey that said that 83% of enterprises were planning to move some workloads back to the private cloud, to give you a sense of this movement.
Yeah, that's quite the statistic, and you both covered so many reasons there, and maybe one that I could potentially add on top of that is you do hear some sort of scare stories around certain CCaaS migrations as well. You hear stories of lock-ins, for example, and not allowing customers to kind of move out of their contracts. And after all, that's one of the big benefits of a cloud software, that you can kind of switch options once the contract runs out. But yeah, I think you both covered lots of really great points within that, and it does make me think, sort of, for those contact centers that require an on-premise environment, what should they look for in a vendor? I don't know, Nicolas, maybe if you want to take this one on first.
Sure. I think the first thing that comes to mind is innovation. Because and it ties back to the first question, with so many vendors putting all they would behind the cloud version of the product or the cloud product. In effect, it means that the on-premises solutions are put in sustained engineering mode. And with so many innovations that enterprises want not only to leverage, but must leverage, innovation is issue number one. The topic number two is the openness, because once you're on premises, you are going to leverage many add-on and sometimes cloud add-on to augment and the solution that resides on the premises. So the openness is the solution is you're basically a safety net to be able to continue innovate via add-on. And last but not least, make sure that the architecture lets you add AI. So the AI could technically be hosted on the premises. In many cases, the computing power is such that you want to run in the cloud. So you need to find to be able, from an architecture standpoint, to support those hybrid configurations.
Excellent. Then I don't know, Michael, if there's anything that you would add to that great list that Nicolas has just put forward.
Yeah, I think I agree with Nicolas. I think the first and most important is making sure you have the most modern software and architecture. So as you're picking a solution, if you think back to a lot of these legacy prem solutions, there was no AI at that time. There was no messengers at that time. So they were built primarily for voice. So look for somebody that's kind of has the most modern architecture feature set is important. The second thing I think is to have if you could, a single code base where, your cloud is the exact same as your prem. Like in our case, there is no difference between our cloud and our prem. We can deploy on Azure, we can deploy on AWS, bare metal, we can deploy in your environment or private cloud. So, you can actually take our software, and whether you want to run it on prem or in cloud. And there might be some cases where you want to have your major facilities on the prem, but you've got some satellite facilities that might be cloud. And you could actually use the same code that we have, the same product. And I think that's a big advantage. So being able to move back and forth. And if somebody ever wanted to upgrade to cloud, for us, it's really not an issue. If you're moving from one of the big three, it's a completely different product. It's a forklift upgrade. So you might as well look at new vendors at that time. And that's why I think having, both innovative software and a single code base is really, really critical as you're looking for vendors in this space.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And it was great actually that you mentioned some of the features of Bright Pattern's solution within there. And for anybody who wants to kind of dig deeper into Bright Pattern's portfolio, I'll leave a link into the website so you can delve deeper on that. But I think, we've covered a lot in today's chat already, and I think that's maybe a great place to end the conversation. So I want to thank Michael and Nicolas very much for joining me today, and you all for watching. Bye for now.
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Nicholas.